this is definitely by far the biggest leap I've seen in Photoshop, all this generative technology, right? So I think in Photoshop CS6, this was maybe 10 years ago, maybe even more, we introduced content-aware fill. And you can imagine a world where maybe you're a stock photographer, right? You're taking a photo of a bunch of runners, and then this guy, not part of the group, just decided to start running with the rest of them. So you need to remove him, right? Because you don't have a model release for this dude over here. So what you would typically do, at least in the past, you would grab something like the lasso tool. You would make a selection around this guy, just like this. There we go. And then you would go up to something like edit and then content aware fill, right? Or you would just do, actually previously content aware fill, the dialog didn't really exist. So you go to fill, content aware, press OK, and then you've got whatever this is, right? This jumble of mess, right? Content aware fill, don't get me wrong, works great in some situations. But for larger complex objects, it just doesn't understand, because what it's doing is when you use content aware, it's looking kind of in the vicinity, inside the selection, outside the selection. It's looking at color, textures, a little bit of lighting, that sort of thing. And it's using all that information to fill in your selection. But it doesn't understand not just what's in the selection, but it doesn't understand what's outside of the selection. And that's where generative fill really shines. It understands, right? Which is creepy, but it also, it allows it to better fill in that area. So instead of using the lasso tool, which is so 2000 and something or other, we're gonna go over here to the left in the tools. I'm gonna use the object selection tool, one of my favorite tools in Photoshop. And this is going to detect all the different objects or people or places or animals or whatever it might be inside of this photo, right? So I can just hover over top and click on this gentleman, or I can drag a selection around him. So I've gone ahead and created a selection of this guy over here. Now I want to, just to give Photoshop a little bit more room to work with, I'm going to expand the selection. So on my contextual taskbar at the bottom, I can click on this icon, expand the selection, or if you don't like the contextual taskbar, under the select menu, down to modify, you'll be able to expand as well. So we'll expand maybe by 20 pixels. And similar to our lasso selection, it just gives a little bit of room outside so that it kind of sees both worlds. It sees inside the selection, sees outside the selection. And now we're gonna go to Generative Fill on our contextual taskbar. And when we are looking to remove an object, don't have to type anything in. Leave this text field blank and press generate. And right now what it's doing is it's really understanding the photo. It's understanding that this is a runner, it's a man, he's running, there's a pole and fence in the background, there's people over here to the left. It understands the lighting, it understands everything. And in a second, you're gonna see a much better result. So here's the before. It's very strange. It almost looks like it was like a composite, and I'm just kind of toggling that layer on and off. It's weird how well this, and it gives you 3 different options, right? So here's 1, 2, 3, and this one's kind of interesting, right? No matter how many times I do this, because I've done this for I've done this the manual way for so many years, and now it's just, but here's where it gets really interesting, right? If I turn this off, you're noticing this pole back here, right? It's being blocked by this dude here, right? And when I removed it using Generative Fill, it added this area down here, this darker area. Well, how did it know that? Well, over here on this pole, it has the same thing, which really goes to show how well it understands the image. It's not just looking at the textures behind it. It knows that this fence goes into the perspective, and it's reconstructing that fence and the pole, and it just does, it's just bananas how well this stuff works. This is a great photo. Sometimes the tourists in the background definitely have their purpose. It adds to the wonder of this photo, I suppose, but sometimes you just want to get rid of them, right? So let's try the object selection tool. Let's see if it selects them well. Not too bad. Or I can just use the lasso tool add to the selection here. And I'm sure if many of you have tried to do things like this in the past, you know how difficult it can be to remove lots of tourists in the background of a photo, especially when things are blurred back there, right? I'm gonna add a little bit more room up here. And you know what? We're gonna do all of them at once, just to kind of show you how this stuff works. All right, that could do. Let me actually add a little bit more here. I just want to make sure that I have enough room around the subjects. I'm also going to select the shadow because that could sometimes throw it off. Did I select this? I don't know. Okay, I think that could work. A little bit more here. All right, so again, let's try content-aware fill just to show you the mess that this is going to make. So this is what previously content-aware fill would do. Again, it's kind of grabbing bits and pieces from the photo, a little bit of texture, lighting. Yeah, no. Nope. So now, generative fill. Again, don't have to press anything. Press generate, and it's going to do the process. And what's wild about examples like this is it understands the blur in the background. It's going to understand that there's arches on this building and there's these canopies over here. Whew. Again, every time I do this, it just blows my mind. This is insane, right? I'm imagining people in the chat are freaking out. But yeah, this is crazy.